Hello, dear listener, viewer. Welcome at Dreamville. We're in this beautiful place at Tomorrowland, where Love Tomorrow organizes these amazing talks with some wonderful guests. My name is JP, and I'm joined here today with three very creative people. On my right, I have Bibi Seck, Faisal, and Cellini. And we're going to talk about musical identity, what it means to position yourself as a DJ in this day and age. Since we're talking about musical identity, maybe we can just do a round table and let everyone introduce themselves. And how would you describe yourself as an artist DJ? Let's start with Bibi.
Okay, I'm Bibi Seck. I'm 27 years old and I live in Antwerp. And I DJ mostly house music with a lot of disco influences, a lot of dance music influences as well. And that's my DJ style, I would say.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Faisal?
My name is Faisal. I'm also Antwerp-based. I wouldn't really know how to describe my style today. I usually just play whatever I'm into at that time. So it's very how do you say it? Versatile, but it's always like rooted in beats, I would say, however fast or slow they might be.
Cool. Cellini?
My name is Cellini. I'm a DJ and live act, and my music is always based around percussion. Some percussion that's as raw as possible or as close to the source as possible. And my influence comes a lot from my family history and my roots. So I try to integrate that in my sound.
Okay, cool. Like we said, we're going to discuss musical identity, so feel free to chime in however. I'll direct my first question to you, Cellini, because you've finished an album, a full-length album, which is already nice for an up-tempo artist, which is
almost finished.
Almost finished. But the album was a bit of a search for you, like to find who you are in this musical landscape. So did you kind of find what you were looking for, and how would you describe what your identity is that you want to present to the world?
For me, it really starts on a personal level, on a bit of a search for my identity apart from my music. And I've always struggled a bit with that, being Belgian or super Italian. At a specific point, they chose to be super Italian, like stereotype Italian. But that was just an answer for myself to fit in. And I couldn't actually find the right balance between these two worlds that both influenced me. And during my musical, we should say journey or something, I found a way to integrate both parts. So the things that I heard here while growing up or playing in clubs, the electronic scene specifically, during my times as a resident at Fuse, for example. And on the other hand, folk music that my ancestors used to dance to for generations, that got lost in the previous generations. So my parents didn't really listen to that anymore. And I went back to those two roots. But that's been like a journey for me for the last 7 years. And actually, it's a coincidence now that we're here, or maybe not. But when I first pitched my music to people I looked up to, that was Faisal, for example, 7 or 8 years ago. I was presenting my music, and I told him about my journey and what I was doing. And he liked it, so that was super nice. But he said, you should go deeper into your own roots. You're looking for folk music around the globe. That's nice. But why don't you dig deeper into that? And that was for me one of the first times that I said, maybe this identity thing can be solved through music for myself. And that was one of the first times that I linked these two stories, my personal and my music. And since this moment 5-6 years ago, I started to integrate the two, and now this album for me is an answer on my personal question, and tells a story like right in the middle. It's not super Italian, it's not Belgian,
It's you.
Yeah, it's I guess yeah, I'm comfortable in the middle. Yeah.
Do you have similar experiences?
I think so. I think my advice I gave Cellini is based on what I was going through maybe at that time. Maybe also like being in the, how do you say, the no man's land between where I grew up and what my roots are, and looking for that and how can I integrate it, like being too, in my case, Moroccan for Belgian people, being two Belgian people, too Belgian for Moroccan people, and trying to find like some kind of crossroads and how do I do that in my own sets. And it was really and it's still hard till this day to find it. So I'm really happy you were able to do it, and I will still collect my royalties on your album too, because it was my idea.
All right. Fair enough.
But yeah, it was something that I went through, I'm still going through, and it's really fun once you find something that connects with those two worlds, and that you feel like, oh, this is also me, and something I want to share with the crowd, or for my own self exploration, how I can express that part of me.
Yeah.
To put it out there, but it's not always easy, and sometimes I abandon it because it's too hard, because it's I can't really find it, especially like for my roots. Like the Moroccan sound is so specific and so foreign to European club culture that it's really hard to find this balance in it. But I feel like the way electronic music is progressing, especially the last few years, that it's becoming more acceptable and more easy to import like foreign sounds into club music or electronic music. So
For sure.
I think we're getting there, definitely.
And for you, Bibi?
For me, it's a bit the same as Faisal, because I'm half black and half white. And it's very difficult to find your place, especially in a predominantly white country like Belgium. And I first started out playing hip hop and R&B because I still do listen to a lot of hip hop and R&B music. But I still didn't find the right groove there, and I still didn't find like I really fitted in there. So it took me a while to get to a place where, and I still sometimes feel like I don't fit in everywhere, because a lot of festivals, a lot of places that I play, it's mostly white people that I play for, because electronic music in Belgium is not as diverse. The crowd is not super diverse, so I still sometimes struggle with that, because it took me a long time to find the sweet spot for me musically, and I found it, I feel like, in house music, because it also originates from a lot of black music, a lot of African stuff. It's very inspiring as well. So also disco was one of my biggest inspirations, and the whole history behind it, I feel like I can relate, even though I'm not from America. I still feel like I belong there, or it makes sense for me to play this music. But sometimes I get quite sad that it's always in front of a lot of white people. I'm not against white people, but I would like to see people like myself also on the dance floor. But I guess it takes time, and it's still,
Why do you think that is, that there's no black people on the floor?
I think because a lot of house music and a lot of electronic music comes from America, and black communities in America, and the black communities in Belgium are African. They come from Congo, or like from colonized countries. So I think it's a different story, and I think it takes a while for people to adjust, and for people to
maybe feel accepted even.
Yeah, because I had the same when I started out playing house music. I felt like, am I allowed to play this? Because in Belgium it was mostly white people, white DJs, also mostly guys playing. So it took me a while to find the confidence as well to play it. But yeah, every year I try more, and I see more and more black people, but it's still a bit of a struggle. So,
and like you said, it's a very male-dominated scene
as well.
I think it's nice that you see a lot of female DJs coming up and like really doing good stuff. How do you try to fit in there, or how do you try to find your own spots?
The last years it's changed a lot. I feel like there's a lot more female DJs. But when I started out, I was 16, I think. Yeah, and it was super hard then because there was no female DJs anywhere, and I would always get the comment like, "Oh, she's just pretty, and that's why she's booked here." And my reaction to that was to become super good, like technically, and to really know my music, so people couldn't say like, "Oh, she can't DJ," you know, she's just pretty. And I think that also helped me further. It gave me a bit more like I don't know, like a kick in the ass,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna prove them wrong.
Which you
But
did.
yeah, I hope I did. But I feel like it really changed. Like the landscape, it's very more diverse, and there's more female DJs everywhere. And a lot of promoters also try their best to make the lineup as diverse as possible. And I really felt that shift a couple of years ago. So I'm glad we're going in the. It's like it's not a specialty anymore that a girl is a DJ. And it used to be when I started out, it was like, oh, it's a girl.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it changed.
How do you guys? Because you produce. No, you produce. I don't know if you.
I
Produce.
try, but I don't have the patience.
Yeah.
I heard some rumors that you produce and do
yeah.
a lot of cool stuff. So
I have some demos in my house, and I sing also, but like I say, I have no patience to finish, and I'm too perfectionist, so I don't finish anything.
Maybe you can
Thank
sing
you.
something for us now. I wanted to ask you, like, because you're Sicilian or Italian? What is it?
I'm Sicilian and Italian.
And Italian. So do you have the feeling like Italians are represented on a dance floor? Like, because you're from Limburg, there's a
yeah.
shitload of Italians there, but I don't really see them out there.
If we're like the thing for me about Italians or my community is different within Limburg and Belgium than internationally, because Italians are pretty much as Western and white as other European or Western countries, but in Belgium and Limburg there's something else going on, because we came in this 50s, 60s from more the rural, the countryside, and there's quite a gap between our community. And for me, it even it's more than just the Italian community. It's the Italians, the Greek, the Turkish, the people that come from the coal mine areas and stayed around there. And I don't think we are really represented on the dance floor.
No.
But it's starting, and that's super nice. So when the first times that I went back to Limburg, because I left Limburg when I was 18. The first time that I came back and I played, I saw there was a connection with a couple of people who said like, "Oh, there's finally some like one of us going on stage, going abroad." They're super proud of what I did, of what I'm doing, and that gave me the energy to do it even more and represent this community even more. To really say like I'm from Maasmechelen. That's my place.
Right, I'm Italian.
I'm Italian. My friends are all here. We go to the same bar in the morning, drink a coffee with someone of 80 years old, who's probably the grandfather of one of my friends. And for me, that proud or that connection that I felt was the reason why I have the energy to travel, to play, to represent my community. So it's more than just the Italian community. It's really the Italo-Belgian.
Right. Okay.
The Italo-Belgian or the coal mine community in general. Like we share a story.
Same story.
Yeah, we share a story, and that it brings us together, and that's something so strong. That's what keeps me
it
going.
goes beyond anything, like the coal mine stuff. It's such a deep rooted, not even issue. It's just a deep rooted connection that Limburgers share. So it's really cool to have someone be like a mascot of that stuff.
Yeah. I don't,
And also the last time Italians have been represented was that Papa Americano.
Yeah.
You got one track. And then the Turkish people had Tarkan, and then the Moroccans had Sheb Khaled, and then that's about like every nationality gets like one track, one decennium, and then get the fuck off. Just like go back to whatever generic I don't know.
How do you guys feel about, because you're all DJs, in like when you go to Tomorrowland, the DJ is often expected to be a producer or vice versa. Is the DJ identity something that came first for you guys?
For me, it did. I think, yeah.
For me too.
I think you find out that there's really cool music out there, and you want to like you just want to play it out. Like you want to be the guy in the car with the aux cable. You want to be the guy at the party with the Spotify.
Yeah.
So for me, naturally, it went there. For me, like it kind of came up together, but for me, the DJ stuff definitely came first. I think for you too, right?
For me as well. And the more you play, the more tracks you hear, and then you think, oh, this kick could have been better, or this part needs to be longer, and then you kind of start with looping, and then you start with making edits, and I think it just grows naturally from there. I think it's just interest in music, like generally. You know.
For me, it's the other way around, or went the other way around at least. I started playing in a band.
Okay.
And but I couldn't work with other people back then.
You're Sicilian and Italian.
I was just a bit I went a bit too hard, so I was just getting frustrations from people calling with their girlfriends or something. So I said, like, let's make music on my computer. Apparently that's a thing right now. And then a good friend of mine, who still helps me, explained me some stuff as a producer, and I started making music as a producer, which was dark, kind of electronic, sample-based music. Came from the band setup that I had before. And then I played some birthday parties, but that went from playing Bob Marley's song after AC/DC, everything. And actually, because I was releasing music and people wanted me to play, but I didn't know how, I started to look for other songs to fit in and make sets or something. And then it grew into something that I never thought I would love that much. Because as a musician, my thought was like, you have musicians and producers, and DJing is something secondary, but it's not at all. It's a whole craft, and I'm still developing that. And for me, it's something that can go on forever. Because it's digging into the connection with the crowd. The technical part, that's one thing, but the connection with the crowd and building a story, that's something you can never do as a producer, not on that level. Because you have the freedom to go wherever you want, and that's, I think, for me at least, the magic part of DJing.
And it's instant as well. The reaction is the people are in front of you, instead of like being in a studio and waiting for it to come out, and then you don't really see the reaction of the people when they hear your music.
And
you have to imagine it.
They will love it.
The same thing goes maybe into the preparation of a DJ set, that you imagine like, okay, this is the part, and here they should go extra hard, and then you do it, and it doesn't go as imagined.
That's the worst.
That's the worst. But then if you like, if you have like kind of a reputation, or maybe you already gained the trust of a crowd, then you know, like, okay, just trust me on this, we'll go somewhere after. Or but
you get a bit more freedom after a couple of years, and you also challenge yourself a bit more, because it's easy to play like the bangers, and but sometimes if you build like you said, like build a whole story, and then you really take the people, that's like the most fun sets, I think, in my opinion.
But you need to get the opportunity to do that, because sometimes if you get headline slots, you have half an hour, people just blasting.
Even then
you can do it. You just have to have the balls maybe to
completely shut it down.
Shut it down. And build like anticipation. And anticipation isn't always gained from like a massive build up in a track with a big riser. Sometimes silence can be much more powerful. Not even silence, like complete silence, but just like nothing. Like the pause in between sentences can say more than the sentence itself. Right, where's my whiskey?
Oh my God.
But I do feel that the DJ sets are ripped a bit out of context at the moment. Like the essence of a DJ set is the improvisation and like the culture of communicating with the crowd. But it's evolving more into a performance with a couple of tracks that they really want to hear, and some, I don't know, clothes that you need to wear, and in the end it's getting really far from the art of DJing. It's more of a promo tool to then maybe play real DJ sets. But for me it's hard to, if I go to a festival with a lot of slots, to say like, I really liked this set, because I cannot judge it anymore.
Because it's so short.
It's super short, and it's built around these peaks that you I don't know. You know what's happening, and you know what will happen soon.
Yeah.
And the magical part for me in a DJ set is getting something that you never expected but you love. You know, that's so I hope that we will evolve into Tomorrowland with 4 acts stage. You can note that and send it to them.
But maybe it's also the people that like it's a, how do you call it, self-fulfilling prophecy or something, that people think I have to play that kind of set because I'm playing that festival.
For sure.
Like someone
Probably.
who does the exact opposite is like Fortet, you know Fortet, who plays these huge EDM festivals and then just drops the most random rock songs or like Katy Perry songs or whatever, just like because he wants to play it at that moment, and catches you completely off guard. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's really whack, but you know he's in charge of what he's doing, and it's not like
he's experimenting.
he's experimenting, and sometimes he really hits it, and sometimes he just fails. But it's really cool to see that he's just doing whatever he wants to do without like the expectation of having the huge explosion, or like you said, like the mold in which a festival set should fit. Katy Perry doesn't belong in that. I don't know if it's Katy Perry, but you know what I mean. Like just those random ass tracks that he plays.
How do you think you set yourself apart as a DJ nowadays?
Yeah.
Aside from being producer and known as an artist, like real DJs just around the craft, how do you think you set yourself apart?
I don't know, actually. I think it's a difficult question.
Or how do you do it?
Because I'm struggling with it as well, because I feel like there's so many DJs nowadays, and there's so many access to music, and everything is online, and there's so many people filming, and there's so many things to look at, and I think it's getting easier and easier to be a good DJ nowadays. So sometimes I also struggle, like what makes my DJ set different than like for example, like a Jada G DJ set. I feel like sometimes the line is very thin, and I don't know, I used to be a bit more confident, but now since everything is getting so crowded, sometimes I struggle with it, because then I think maybe I need to release my own music. So I have like how you say it, a trademark sound or something. I think that's one way you can distinguish yourself. But like I say, I struggle with it a bit lately. Like
But
I've been asking myself, like, how do I sound different than somebody else? Because there's, like we all use a Beatport, we all use Bandcamp, we all use SoundCloud.
So we check some boiler room and like, okay, that's something I could just play. Playing.
So I think the more we're doing it, and the more like boiler room, for example, there's so many boiler rooms, there's so many DJ sets out there. So I think it's getting more difficult because everything is getting documented more and more.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
but then it's just, maybe it comes down to you being you.
yeah.
Like the same guy playing the same track, but it's different energy from the.
Or digging for more specific music.
Right.
Or
That's true.
like
Some
very
guys are really
exclusive
known. Just
stuff,
like
and-
when I listen to your sets, sometimes like, where did you find that music?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
but he's crazy also.
You're
Yeah.
so like, I wanted to ask you as well. You're so eclectic. You have such a variety of tastes, but somehow you make it fit. But to me, it sounds hard to like put you in a box, which is what people want to do. Put you in a box because that's easy. We can put it on this stage because he sounds like this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
How do you handle that? Like,
I don't know.
you're so wide.
I used to see it as something really cool and fun, that I'm so eclectic. But the last few years, I felt like it's more of a burden, because like everyone has a different version of me. Like someone saw me play like a more disco set or whatever. Someone saw me play more hip hop set or house set, and everyone fits me into their own like little box in their head. And I think for promoters, it's also like difficult. Like, where do we put him on a lineup, or do we make him close, or do we put him in a headline slot, or do we make him open? Because I could do all those things, but still, it's just like, I don't know. I try to change it and be like more straightforward into one genre, but I just can't do it because it's not me. I mean, even on the car ride over here, we went from like all genres, like
to Congolese music.
to everything. It's just like, it's all, like I said in the introduction, it's like all based on groove and on beats, and different genres could have like the same groove or like the same energy or the same feel, and like I try to fit those together because it's just in my head it makes sense. Maybe it's also like ADHD rooted that I can't stick into one thing, but
I think that's also your strength, that people don't know what to expect, but they always have a good time.
yeah,
I
maybe.
feel like.
Oh, thank you. That's really
Yeah,
sweet.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Well, I think so too. And you said nothing. Yeah. No, but like with the differentiating stuff, I think like you said, everything being documented is also like really difficult, because if you like play a combo of two songs that really work well together and like someone puts it on Instagram or like becomes a clip or whatever, you can't play that combo anymore, because then people think maybe you're like a one-trick pony. Well, that's not
Or people
necessarily
steal
true.
it.
Yeah, or people steal it. Yeah. So
But yeah,
how to
if
differentiate?
people steal it, you still have the document to say like I was first.
That's true. Yeah.
But
yeah.
still, it's like,
Yeah, it's still. But maybe that also forces you to keep improving and keep expanding.
yeah.
I don't know how it is for you. Like, how,
I had the same as Bibi. I think I struggle with it a lot as a DJ, because there's so much going on, and you have these specific moments where you should be like on top of everyone else, right? Like you have a couple of artists before and after you, and you want just to be like the peak moment, or at least that's what expected. And then I made like a change in my head that I don't want to go deeper into that, because it's just an endless road, and to always differentiate yourself, differentiate how we say that,
Differentiate.
differentiate. To always differentiate yourself is a thing that and then Faisal gave the answer. It's more of going close to yourself, and for me that was my answer. And whenever I do that, I feel confident about it, and that's just enough. And then it ends this rat race of being better or doing something different or being just that's doing something else, it's not about doing something better anymore for me. It's just going as close to myself as possible, telling my story, playing things that I think would work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
but it's so
It's nice, actually.
vulnerable though, and so naked. Like, if you
super
play
naked.
super close to yourself and like this is really the music I want to play, I think we've all had those preparations. Like, okay, I'm gonna go extra deep tonight, and
Yeah.
this is like a very experimental set, maybe, or like very close to me. And then you start playing it, and the crowd doesn't respond in the way that
Yeah.
you think, and then like it really feels like you're naked out there. And then like sometimes you panic and you just start playing some extra hard bangers just to reset everything. And
But then when it does work, you really feel good, right?
exact that those are the best sets.
Yeah. Then you're like, oh, I am an artist. you
Right,
know? Like,
yeah.
I could really.
I'm not a DJ, I'm a selector, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what could be a thing is to have your for example, I have like a couple of playlists with like really old playlists with tracks that I know that work and that I
Yeah.
go to in a panic mode, but I still try to keep my focus now, and move within the thing that feels right
Within the
right
frame,
now. And it's for the first time after a long period that I put this in the front rather than making it. I had
Right.
I had a hyper focus on making it, making a career, being the
best.
the best.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Even the best. I mean, it's
Yeah.
music is so subjective.
It's super.
definitely, yeah.
it
and
can only
and-
be you.
and there's also just a lot of things that are it's not only your music and you, it's what's going on at that moment and what people are listening to, and if there's a space, if there's space for a DJ or not, and when things go how they go, then you arrive somewhere. So you don't really have the control over that, and even if you force it, you cannot really. So for me, it was just of letting go of that and just making music, and getting my joy back of playing and performing live, and whatever comes after is for me as an artist secondary.
Before we close this off, do you each have like a parting thought for people that might be starting as DJs, as artists, how to approach it, how to be themselves? Let's start maybe by you, Bibi.
I would say be patient, because I needed a lot of time to get confident and to get where I'm at now, and I'm still not super confident. But give yourself time to also technically to evolve. And like I even still this year, I learn new tricks on CDJs. Like it takes a while to get to where you want to be and to be a good DJ. Just you need experience as well. You need to have the shitty gigs and stand in front of 5 people or stand in front of a crowd that doesn't dance, and you need those in order to know what to do, so I would say to be patient.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was gonna tap into that. I was gonna say like get to know your instruments, in this case being the CDJs, and that takes also patience to like really get to know what's going on there, so you can even like if you like in my case, for example, I practice and I practice and I practice in my bedroom, and then I go to the club for the first time and it's dark and you have these flashing lights and there's people, and I'm like all of a sudden I don't recognize the CDJs anymore because it's a completely different thing. So you have to know like the buttons in and out, like without even having to look at it. Like we've all seen a DJ who's playing and someone asks a question and they're still mixing while they're having a conversation because they know where the buttons are. Just know your instrument, know your craft technically, and if you have that, then I think from that you will grow confidence, and then
Start
because
doing
you
your
know
own stuff.
Yeah, you know your stuff.
You?
I think that if DJing is what you really love, and then keep going is for me something super important, because it will be a bumpy road, and it won't go as the fantasy that you have in your head. It will go. You will have shitty nights, shitty days, and shitty periods. But if you keep going and you see this as as the road, then eventually you'll end somewhere, or not. But at least
you're on your way.
At least you're on your way, and you'll have you will create a mindset that works. And when you're there, you're on something that's moving, but that works. But it's hard when you're working with arts. When you work with music, something subjective and something super personal. It's something hard. It's not only having fun and sharing your happiness. There will be some darker sides as well, but that's okay. If you feel that you can embrace them and just let that be, and give it the right attention, then eventually you will end up somewhere. At least that's where I hope I will end up somewhere.
That's beautiful.
All right.
And maybe
really
also like one last thing is don't compare yourself. Your own
Very hard
path.
to do.
Which is really
Yeah,
hard.
that's
but
the hardest thing to do, because even if you're scrolling TikTok or Instagram,
Yeah.
whatever, you're always like, if you see something like, why am I not there, or like, why is that person doing that already, like, or
No.
it's just like the comparison is based on nothing. It's just like the only factor that's true is you're a DJ and he or she is also a DJ. That's where it stops. You have your complete own way, and that I don't know. It's it becomes a devil in its way. Yeah.
With these wise words, thank you, guys and girl, for this conversation. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank
You
you.
all have sets today as well, I think. So
Yeah.
go kill it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PJ.
Thanks.
JP.
JP.
That's the one.
Close.
We'll cut it out.
Correct.
That's
Do
the
that last one again. Thank you, JP. You're a wonderful man.
Applause.
Merci. Top.
Cool.